Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be around the world. Welcome to the news roundup for February 2025 here on Solid Academy. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the host here at Solid Academy, and every month we take a look at the news across the WordPress world and bring you the things that we think are the most important, especially for those of us that are building and managing sites for clients. And let's begin today. First of all, if you're just joining us, open up the chat and you will see the link bundle there waiting on you. Today's slides are there. We are recording this as usual, and the replay link is there in the link bundle as well. If you're watching this on the replay, just below the video on the Academy page, you will see the link to download these slides if you want to follow along. And as usual, all of the source links are down there in the footer if you want to go read more. So let's start out with updates from the recent unpleasantness here in WordPress, the elephant in the room, as it were. Several interesting things have happened. Not a lot of progress in the court cases. However, Say Reed has filed a code of conduct violation against Matt Mullenweg. Now, Say Reed, you may know, is the founder of the WordPress Community Collective, and she has filed an official code of conduct violation against Matt Mullenweg for, among other things, extreme retaliation after he banned her WordPress.org account last month. Her complaint centers around a WordPress.org blog post back from January 11th. We talked about that last month, where Matt included her in a group that included Joost, Kareem Maruki, and some others that he accused of planning a WordPress fork. Now, I even mentioned at that time, along with many others, who felt like Reed being added to this list of rebels was a bit curious, since she really hasn't been active in WordPress that much for quite some time. She had also filed a previous complaint against Mullenweg in 2023, alleging infractions including harassment, inappropriate conduct, and retaliation. The WordPress incident response team at that time upheld her claims and requested that Mullenweg issue a public apology, which he did more than a year later. There it is on the screen. He said he publicly apologizes, period. So this latest claim, Reed claims that the harassment continued until she was removed from the WordPress marketing team and the team was officially disbanded. WordPress executive director Mary Hubbard said on January 31st that some of Reed's concerns have been addressed, but others are still, as of this moment, under active review. So we'll see what happens there. Also, interesting development in the ongoing saga is that Joost, the founder of the Joost SEO plugin and longtime WordPress community contributor, has been labeled persona non grata by Matt Mullenweg. He was removed as a speaker at WordCamp last week, which was scheduled for next week in Manila, the Philippines. Joost was to present on marketing WordPress products, but was removed apparently by Matt himself. Matt tweeted, "Before he tries to make any more drama about not being at WordCamp Asia, just wanted to say I feel that Joost stabbed me when I was down, betrayed confidence, tried to take advantage of a situation for personal clout and influence, ... Because of this, I will not interact with him any further or participate in anything he's involved with. He is persona non grata." Now, that term means that a person is is officially unwelcome in a certain space. So there we go. About this removal of Joost from the speaking in WordCamp Asia, Mary Hubbard said the decision was made with careful consideration and is rooted in maintaining trust and cohesion within the WordPress community. WordPress has always welcomed healthy debate, differing perspectives, and constructive criticism. However, Joost has indicated he is working to separate the community rather than engage with it. So you can decide however you want to take that. There you go. Another really interesting bit of news in the recent unpleasantness is that the WordPress Foundation's attempt to add additional phrases to their trademark of the word WordPress has failed the initial pass by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So the foundation / automatic was attempting to trademark common hosting terms, and that's been temporarily blocked. It's a victory not only for those of us who do WordPress care plans, for example, but also web hosts and other plugin providers. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has ruled that terms like hosted WordPress and managed WordPress are merely descriptive and cannot be trademarked, which means at this point, using a term like WordPress Care Plan seems to be allowed. Automatic, however, maintains these USPTO decisions are not final and does plan a response. So we'll see what happens there as well. The WordPress community team has also announced a more stringent vetting process for the sponsorship of WordCamps. So this is a new process that was actually started back in November 2024 after WordCamp US and all the things that happened there with WP Engine. It was mandated then by project leadership, quote unquote, which tasked the community program managers to begin to manage these changes for WordCamp or official WordPress event sponsorship. The guidelines ensure GPL and WordPress trademark compliance and avoid the use of newly verboten terms like WordPress hosting. So the deal here is that even though these terms are not officially breaking the trademark, the WordPress Foundation can still say if you use this terminology in your advertising, then you are not allowed to sponsor WordPress events. Also, any organization wishing to sponsor a WordCamp must now be directly approved by either Matt Mullenweg or Mary Hubbard. So that is unfortunate. And as a person who has has invested many years organizing WordCamp events here in my local area, I think I've been part of 7 of them. It's really hard enough to find sponsors without an extra hurdle to jump through. So it's unfortunate that these choices have been made. So with that, let's turn the page into something a little more fun. Let's talk about some news from Core. You may have noticed as your inbox was filled with 8,000 emails from various WordPress installations updating that last week, 1 week ago today, WordPress 6.7.2 dropped. This was a very, very minor update. 35 bug fixes related to the block editor, some HTML rendering, some of the API functionality, and the customizer. That's it. No big deal. No issues. It just updated. What is coming in WordPress 6.8? So this is planned and scheduled for April. A couple of interesting changes that are afoot. Most of them have to do with the block editor and full site editing. However, included in WordPress 6.8 is a new and improved password security process, whereby the passwords will now be hashed with a different mechanism. So in 6.8, the MD5 algorithm for hashing passwords in the database will be changed to bcrypt. Now, this may just be a bunch of gobbledygook to you, but the basic, there's a way that WordPress passwords are stored in the database. You can't search for a password and find it in the database. It's been hashed, encrypted essentially using a particular encryption method. It's always been MD5. Now they've changed this to a different process called bcrypt. Bcrypt is more resistant to brute force and rainbow table attacks, unlike the very, I might say, outdated MD5. So the change to bcrypt will happen automatically the next time a user logs in and enters their password or resets their password. Now, this should be transparent to the user. It's just the next time that password is used, it gets re-encrypted in the database using bcrypt, which is, at the end of the day, you can Google this and learn all the technical issues. It's just more secure and better. It's going to help prevent brute force attacks. So that's good. Also coming in WordPress 6.8 is a new zoomed out editing mode that's going to make adjusting page layouts easier if you're using the site editor. So here's a view of the zoomed out mode that shows the header area as well as some of the content. So you can kind of zoom out and see the whole thing and then zoom back in to just the content area if you choose. There's also a write and design mode that'll be added or refined for more focused editing experiences. The style book, which was previously just for block themes, will be added now for classic themes. Style book's pretty darn cool if you haven't seen that. It lets you see all the different typography options and block styles and so forth. Also, there will be improvements to the font picker. Whereas before you just got a list of the fonts that were available, now you actually get a preview of what those fonts look like in the dropdown. So that's kind of cool, I suppose. The color controls get a reset button in certain places. There's some additional design tools that give border control to blocks that didn't have it, as well as padding and margin spacing refinements on blocks that didn't have it yet. This is going to be another big one. They are continuing to integrate the speculative loading API into core so that the sites really perform better. And that's this thing where if you mouse over a link, it will sort of preload that page in the background so that when you click it, it loads more quickly. Or if a link is in focus, the browser will go ahead and start loading that in the background so that it appears to the user the site is loading very, very quickly. There's also some enhancements to the query loop block. A lot more filters are coming. The data views are getting refined. This is the new way that pages and posts are going to be displayed. In addition to some block editor updates like undo actions for image edits. That's kind of nice. So if you make a change on your image, there's an undo button now. Better event handling, dragging and dropping patterns. There are some notable accessibility improvements coming to the WordPress admin panel. And finally, performance optimization for how lazy loading works. Also, the way nav blocks are loaded and some improved caching overall in the core. So a lot of behind the scenes improvements here, in addition to some site editor, block editor changes. So all this is scheduled to drop April the 15th, 2025, WordPress 6.8, 6.9 still scheduled for July, and 7.0 for November. Let's take a quick look at what's going on in the world of Project Gutenberg. Nice little site has been launched called gutenstats.blog that gives you some interesting statistics for how Gutenberg is doing. 85.7 million active installs, 252 million posts currently written in the block editor, according to Jetpack Stats. Hard to say. 150,000+ posts written every day in the block editor. If you ever wanted to know what blocks were used, there's some interesting, or maybe not, statistics about what blocks are used and how often. Clearly, the paragraph block is the most used. Anyway, so gutenstats.blog, if you want to take a look and just see some stats, there it is. Gutenberg 20.1 was released a couple weeks ago, three weeks ago, January 25th. This is where we get started or refining some of the work on the data views for pages. This is actually now going to start showing the page's content instead of just the featured image. This is a feature that needs to be activated down here in the properties panel where you can choose content preview, and now you can actually see a little thumbnail of the entire page, not just the featured image the way it was before. That's a nice change. Also, the name of the menu is shown in the list view now, rather than just the term navigation. And if you update which menu is being shown in a nav block, that'll get reflected in list view. So right here, for example, you see all pages flat is the name of this menu, and it shows up the actual menu name, not just a nav block over there. That's a good feature enhancement, I believe. Gutenberg 20.2 released back on the 5th of February. In this release, you have some color options for headings that were added in the content block. Previously, you could only really change colors for text and background. Now you get to actually have a little better control over the different elements that are in a content block. So here you can change the typography and colors for each of the different types of heading or just standard text, what links look like in that block. So that's a pretty good change there for block editor. This should likely be all wrapped up and included in WordPress 6.8. All right, so let's take a look at some security news. Many plugin vulnerabilities and theme vulnerabilities, as you would expect. 470 vulnerabilities patched in the last month. 708 are still active or the plugin is closed, and 42 active theme vulnerabilities. As always, you can reduce your site's risk to nearly zero with Solid Security Pro using our site scan feature, version management, and of course, Patch Stack virtual patching, which automatically applies a patch to a vulnerable theme or plugin, even if the developer hasn't updated it yet. So that's pretty darn cool. Big news in security. We are doing Disaster Week again this year. By the way, we have updated the dates. It was scheduled for a couple of weeks before this. We've now updated Disaster Week dates from to March 25th through the 27th. That's the last Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the month. If, by the way, you already signed up for Disaster Week, which many have, you will not need to sign up again. It just carries forward. You might have gotten an email from Zoom letting you know the date was changed. You might not have. But these are the dates. If you've already signed up, you're good to go. Every year for the last, as long as I can remember, we've been doing Disaster Week here on Solid Academy. A week full of security training with subject matter experts. This is going to be 9 hours of security training over those 3 days. March 25th through 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. Central Time each day. This will be a free event open to everyone, and replays will be available as usual for each day. And I will just tell you this. I don't have content to announce yet, but I will tell you this. We have rearranged the schedule a little bit, and there's going to be some really interesting stuff coming this year on Disaster Week. We'll have more about that in the coming weeks. This is a big bit of security news. A critical flaw has been discovered in some very popular school software that has led to a historic data breach. So this software is called PowerSchool, and if you have kids or know of kids in the United States, it is likely that they are impacted by this. It's a very popular education software. They have experienced the largest breach of student data in U.S. history. The incident may have affected tens of millions of students, with the hacker claiming access to 62 million different records. The compromised data includes sensitive details like social security numbers, health records, and disciplinary histories. Cybersecurity audits showed that PowerSchool did not implement essential security measures like two-factor authentication. Access to student information was gained through a single stolen employee password. It's a shame. Reports indicate that PowerSchool paid a ransom to hackers for a video confirming that the stolen data was deleted. So basically, we pinky promised that we deleted the data. Who knows if they actually did? Experts caution that hackers may have kept or copied sensitive information. Critics point out that weak cybersecurity practices are very common in the edtech sector, which puts schools and students at risk. There's an increasing demand for government-mandated cybersecurity standards to safeguard school and student data so stuff like this doesn't keep happening. It is absolutely ridiculous. And as Sue is mentioning in the chat, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits about this, as you can imagine. If you are a Mac user, be aware that there is a new wave of smart malware targeting your computer. Apple once had the reputation of impregnable security. There are now sophisticated AI-powered malware threats. So this newest threat is called Poseidon. It's an information stealer, and it now accounts for 70% of Mac infections and can even compromise cryptocurrency wallets. Malvertising campaigns, are you familiar with these? These are malware that's being advertised as legitimate websites or services through social media and other places. You click an ad, it takes you to a bad site. These malvertising campaigns use AI to create targeted fake advertisements that trick users into downloading malware. Modern malware stays dormant to avoid detection and uses advertisement functionality to redirect the users to bad places. Gone are the days now when Mac users could surf safely without malware protection. Our buddy Thomas Rafe at We Watch Your Website recommends Safas or Malwarebytes to keep your Mac protected. Now, if you think this is just an Apple problem, it's not, because if you're an Android user, things are even worse. In 2024, researchers detected almost 23,000 different phishing apps, 3,900 apps designed to read one-time passwords from notification bars, and 5,200 different apps capable of extracting one-time passwords from your SMS messages on an Android phone. Now, Google Play Protect automatically removes known malware, but it is definitely not foolproof. So, however, even though malware is evolving, the same device protection techniques continue to be recommended. I wish everybody would follow them. So just as always, be careful what you download. Keep all the software up to date on your device. use complex passwords for each login, and always use two-factor authentication where it is offered. All right. Well, let's take a look at some news from us here at Solid WP. We've had a lot of good stuff coming up on Solid Academy. Plugin Roundup coming up March the 5th. We've got another Solid Security Setup Clinic with David Johnson on March the 5th. This one is going to focus more on e-commerce, which is going to be fun. So if you have a site that is using Solid Security and you want to get some insight on setting it up for e-commerce use or anything that's purchased, course, LMS type sites, that's what we're focusing on March the 5th. March the 18th, News Roundup, and of course, Disaster Week there, March 25th through 27th. We've got some great replays out there from the last month. Our last Solid Security Setup Clinic was, I think, the best one of those we've ever done over the years. We've done many of them. If you missed that, go back and rewatch it because David Johnson goes in and really digs in to how to set up Solid Security, why to make certain choices. All those links are down here at the bottom. And we had 3 excellent accessibility webinars in the past few weeks. Last week, we had Bette Hannon from Accessicart talking about the legal requirements for accessibility. Also, last week, we had Jen Harries talking about making emails accessible. That one in particular was eye-opening to me. And also, a couple of weeks before that, we had Jen talking about how to perform quick accessibility audits. So all those are out there. You can click the links in the footer to replay those live streams. Let's see, this month's premium event, we had to do a little changing of the schedule. And so in office hours last week, we did a quick switcheroo on what the premium course would be for this month. And the vote by popular demand was an AI workshop. So I've called this the agency workshop, the AI agency. See what I did there? AI agency. Anyway, learn how to use time-saving techniques with AI. It's basically the stuff that I've learned over the last year or so working heavily with ChatGPT in my agency work. We'll cover practical tips for content generation, code creation, and many, many more things. That is coming up for members of Solid Academy next Tuesday and Wednesday. And as always, if you're a member, office hours every Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. You can ask me anything. Lots of fun stuff. If you'd like to join Solid Academy, membership is free with any Solid Suite membership starting as low as $199 a year. At that price, you get office hours every week to ask whatever you want to ask and a premium course each month. A little bit of plugin news for you this month. If you didn't see already, WooCommerce, or Woo, has gotten a new look. They have rebranded, and now they are offering big promises for developers. So WooCommerce has introduced a rebrand featuring a new logo and a little slightly tweaked color scheme. It's still purple. The change supports a move toward a more unified platform that minimizes reliance on plugins. So here is the new Woo. I do like the W with the little cartwheels. It looks like a cart. That's clever. Anyhow, so that's the new Woo. Meanwhile, in the middle of all this, developers continue to express dissatisfaction with old admin interfaces and ongoing challenges in customizing product pages. Some are arguing that platforms like Shopify offer a more user-friendly experience because Woo depends so much on plugins, and that can be frustrating. So overall, the Woo team has said, look, we're starting to bring more into core. That's their, how it actually fleshes out is going to be a different matter, but their principle, one of the driving principles of changes in Woo going forward is going to be more in core. So I think that's ultimately good. Woo promises to enhance mobile integration, simplify editing, and resolve plugin compatibility issues. They're also developing, this is interesting, a native point of sale system that's in early beta. You can learn more about that at the link in the footer. All righty, let's start talking about some AI news. It's been a big month for AI in the last few weeks. So, among many executive orders that were signed, President Trump has issued an executive order, an aggressive executive order that pertains to AI. So back on January 23rd, he signed an executive order revoking previous AI policies that he deemed too restrictive and mandates the development of an AI action plan within 180 days. The plan emphasizes promoting innovation, economic competitiveness, and national security while ensuring AI development is free from ideological biases. So this basically empowers a whole flow of things to start happening. And we'll follow that and see what's actually going to occur. Part of this is the Stargate project. So the Stargate project is a collaborative effort between OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, and others that plans to invest $500 billion in AI infrastructure over the next 4 years. Now, the plan begins with the construction of 20 different data centers, each of approximately 500,000 square feet each, with the initial sites to be housed in Texas. The project is expected to create over 100,000 jobs in the U.S. So we'll see what happens out of that. Meta has doubled down on AI infrastructure. They plan to construct a massive data center that would span a large portion of Manhattan. That's what the article said. They're not saying it's going to be in Manhattan. They just chose to use Manhattan as a reference for size. Whatever. This is part of their own $60 to $65 billion investment in their AI infrastructure, anticipating that 2025 will be a crucial year for AI. They project that the 2 gigawatt facility will generate 1.3 million AI chips by the year end to drive innovation and maintain American technological leadership. So with all of this stuff happening and all the plans going on in AI, this new thing called DeepSeek made a splash. So just a few weeks ago in late January, the Chinese company DeepSeek shocked the world with what some technical folks have called a Sputnik moment. DeepSeek is an AI model that has achieved comparable performance to leading AI models at significantly lower costs. So DeepSeek claims that their AI can run with much less computing power. Now, this is important. The current models rely, as you may know, on GPUs, graphic processing units from NVIDIA and others that can, they're just incredibly fast processing. DeepSeek claims that theirs can run on more standard chips that are cheaper to create and not as power hungry. They also claim that their model was trained for $6 million compared to the $100 million that it cost to create GPT-4. Experts believe that energy-saving innovations like DeepSeek's are necessary for AI's continued progress, especially on mobile devices. So the release of DeepSeek was a huge shock, as both Meta and Microsoft both recently announced multi-billion-dollar AI investments as part of the Trump administration's plan. So yeah. So in the middle of all this, DeepSeek quickly had some issues upon its release. DeepSeek, right as soon as it became available, was hit with a series of cyber attacks that required suspension of new account creation for some time. While its AI might be innovative, its security was not, as researchers easily discovered a database containing sensitive information, quote, within minutes. The database was, quote, completely open and exposed API keys, chat histories, and millions of lines of system logs. In addition to the cyber attack, DeepSeek experienced a media attack from OpenAI, who accused them of scraping their data to create their new AI tool, which is really funny because that's what everybody's been saying about OpenAI. So it's like, we're going to do OpenAI. It's okay if we do this to you, but just don't do this to us. We don't scrape our data. That's our job. We're supposed to scrape the data. I don't know. Both OpenAI and Microsoft have launched probes to determine if and how their AI data was obtained by DeepSeek. Who knows? OpenAI did have a surprise of its own. They launched their own autonomous AI called Operator. Now, Operator is an AI agent that's designed to autonomously handle online tasks like travel bookings and shopping. What could possibly go wrong? Utilizing GPT-4's vision and reasoning capabilities, Operator will interact seamlessly, they say, with websites. Currently, access is restricted to US-based pro subscribers. That's the really expensive $200 a month level. But there are future plans to make it more broadly available. I've not used it. I'm not paying $200 a month yet. But here's an example. Find me a family-friendly campsite at Joshua Tree this weekend. Click the button, and it opens in the conversation its own little Chromium browser where it's going through some things, searching for a thing, selecting the weekends, clicking the button, checking the dates. Oh, look, here is an option. Look at there. Josh, 98% rating, whatever. He says, book it. We book it. And it booked it. I don't know. The thing about this is the dumbest AI is ever going to be today. It's only going to get smarter from here. And it's pretty doggone interesting to have an AI agent going out and doing these things for you. It's where we're headed. Now, in the middle of all this, you might wonder, well, how does my AI know that it's me? And there's an interesting little project called World ID that has been developed by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman that is seeking to develop a digital proof of human so that your AI knows that it's you. Altman argues that differentiating between humans and AI agents will soon become difficult. Probably so. World ID uses eye scans for reliable online human authentication and enables verification of AI agents performing tasks for users. So who knows what things are going to be in 5 years? Maybe we all have our own little AI agents that can go do stuff, and we'll have some sort of ID like this to validate that it's actually us. I'm sure nobody will hack this ever. Oh my. So if you weren't worried about AI already, there's now concern being expressed over Google ending a ban on AI weapons. So Alphabet, Google's parent company, has lifted its ban on using AI for weapon and surveillance development. The decision has drawn criticism, especially from Human Rights Watch, which finds it incredibly concerning. The group cautions that AI's role in military could use complete accountability and lead to life or death consequences. Alphabet says cooperation between businesses and democratic governments is crucial for developing AI that enhances national security, safeguards individuals, and fosters global advancement. That sounds like a political statement, doesn't it? Experts and policymakers note that AI is becoming more influential in military operations, with many worrying that AI-driven autonomous weapons will be created that can make lethal choices. Wasn't there a movie about this? Anyway. In the middle of all this, can AI-generated content be copyrighted? So the U.S. Copyright Office has released a report detailing how current laws impact AI-generated content. This is important if you're doing AI things, creating content or otherwise, with your agency. So in short, AI-generated work can only be copyright if a human adds significant creative input, such as, they say, major changes to AI-created material, creative arrangement or collection of AI outputs, or use of AI elements in larger human creative works. Simply giving prompts to an AI system does not qualify for the output to be copyright. The Copyright Office believes that they don't need any new laws, that existing laws are on the books and can govern copyright in the new AI age. Of course, though, there's bound to be lawsuits challenging all the things. So, but for now, you can't just write a blog post with ChatGPT and it's copyright. It's not, unless you seriously, significantly change it. This is probably my favorite AI article of the month. Is AI making our brains rot? So there's a recent study by Microsoft that finds increased reliance on AI tools is leading to decrease in critical thinking, with users becoming less engaged in cognitive processes as they trust AI systems more. In this study, teams that use generative AI were found to create more uniform and less creative solutions compared to teams that were working without it. In addition, they tended to accept AI output without proper evaluation when pressed for time. That just makes sense. The study involved 319 professionals who provided 936 examples of real-world AI implementation. It suggests that AI tools should be designed to enhance rather than replicate human cognitive abilities. If you're interested in this, 404 Media, which is a really great news source if you're not familiar with them, they've got a really interesting take in an article as well as a podcast where they discuss that topic. Links are below. All right. Let's talk about accessibility news. A few things happened this month that we definitely need to be aware of. Equalize Digital has revealed the top accessibility issues of last year. Web accessibility audits conducted last year uncovered over 255 issues across WordPress sites, plugins, and web apps. Manual testing proved critical because 84% of those issues that were identified could not be detected by automated tools. Color contrast issues, missing labels, and lack of keyboard operability were among the most frequent problems. Nearly half of the identified flaws were high-severity issues, like inaccessible navigation or hidden content. As the 2025 European Accessibility Act is coming this summer, WordPress plugin developers are focusing on more accessibility, although much work still remains. While automated tools like Axe or Equalize Digital's own accessibility checker exist, manual testing is still essential for dependable evaluations. Another interesting bit of accessibility news is this one. There's a group of states that are now challenging disability rights laws in federal court. There's a coalition of 17 states who have filed now a legal challenge against Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, seeking to declare it unconstitutional. Section 504 was established 50 years ago and required schools and federally funded institutions to provide equal access and accommodations to individuals with disabilities. The states argue that federal government exceeded its authority, but disability advocates warn of devastating consequences for accessibility rights. This is in the early stages. Legal briefs from both parties are due at the end of this month, with more states likely to join with supportive documents. So this is definitely going to be one to watch. There's a couple of really good, particularly the dredf.org, whatever this stands for. That's a really good source of information if you want more information about this. Here's another important bit of news. Google's John Mueller has confirmed that alt text is not about SEO. So please tell all your clever SEO people to stop shoving keywords in the alt text. And now we've got somebody from Google saying that's correct. We've been trying to tell some accessibility people that for years, and they love cramming, the alt text full of SEO keywords. John Mueller from Google says, don't do that. If you're not familiar with Mueller, he is one of the key public-facing figures in Google's search relations team. He regularly shares insight on how Google's search engine interprets websites, ranking factors, and best practices. This all came out in a Blue Sky post, which is linked here. He says that we should process alt text decisions through a tool like the W3C's alt text decision tree. Now, if you've never seen this, you really ought to take a look. It's linked here in the bottom. Here's the page. It'll actually walk you through questions to decide whether or not an image should have alt text and how that should look. So does the image contain text? No, yes. Question, question, question. Does it? No, yes. There's a whole tree here to let you know if and how alt text should be presented on an image, or if it's a graph, or is it, whatever. There's good information here. This is what John Mueller says we should be going by. All right, let's turn the page to some other news. Speaking of Google, if you're not aware of this in your agency, and if you're using reCAPTCHA, listen up. The service, the entire reCAPTCHA service is moving from where it is now over to Google Cloud Services. Now, what does that mean? It means that you have to set up a billing details for the project that your reCAPTCHA is going to be moved to. So there's a Google community answer linked in the footer that details how your reCAPTCHA keys are not going to change. However, they will be migrated to a Google Cloud project that Google is going to create for you at some point by the end of the year. They're, of course, not very clear on when that will happen. They haven't specified the exact timing or if there might be delays like there have been with other announced changes. But your individual keys for reCAPTCHA will remain the same, and the service will still be free up to 10,000 assessments per month. However, if a key exceeds the 10,000 a month threshold, it's going to stop working completely, meaning if you're using, for example, reCAPTCHA to protect form submissions or WordPress logins, and the 10,000 threshold is crossed, none of that works anymore because it can't get an authentication through reCAPTCHA because the key quit working. So what that means is you're going to have to go in and manually add your billing information onto each cloud project, one for each of these reCAPTCHA sets of keys. It's going to be a massive pain. Google is supposed to create these cloud I've lost the word, the cloud projects for you. Come on, there we go. They're going to create the cloud project for you, and you get 10,000 right away. But if you exceed it, then you have to add your billing information to that one. It's a bit of a mess. And quite frankly, if you, like me, had a mess happen when Google moved, thank you, Google, for moving my old Google Analytics into Google Analytics 4. It was a mess. I perceive that some of this is also going to be messy. If you want to do it yourself, there is a link here at the bottom on how to manually migrate your reCAPTCHA keys, and you'll have to do that each site manually. Aren't you glad? This is why we switched to Cloudflare Turnstile. What a mess with Google reCAPTCHA. Vern, yes, 10,000 is the current limit, just like it is now. Okay. In other news, the GPL Club Festinger Vault has reopened. They have resumed operations following a resolution to Automatic's lawsuit against them. Now, if you're not familiar with Festinger Vault, good. They are a platform that offers access to over 25,000 premium nulled themes and plugins for a single price. Nulled means that these turkeys take, a developer's work that they're selling, to pay, to actually make a living by developing this software. They take, for example, iTheme Security Pro or Solid Security Pro. They strip out all the licensing and they give you the plugin as part of the membership in Festinger Vault. And you install Festinger Vault's plugin, and they provide all the updates, the themes and plugins through their own servers. It is shady. It is disincentive for WordPress premium theme and plugin developers. And there's no guarantee that you're not going to get malware through sources like Festinger Vault. Anyway, so critics, especially WordPress developers, claim that GPL clubs like this one take advantage of creators by making profits from their work. Now, Automatic had sued Festinger Vault, which is in the Netherlands. Yes, in the Netherlands. Because they went at it through a trademark argument, saying you're delivering WooCommerce plugins, for example. Well, that we trademarked that. You can't say that. And so initially, the court ordered that the site would be taken down until this could all be resolved. So the previous court ruling shut down the platform. However, the latest court ruling noted inconsistencies in Automatic's legal position. Some wonder if that's not related to the takeover of advanced custom fields, which is really similar to what happens at Festinger Vault. Anyway, there's a little bit of wonder about that. Nobody knows for sure, but there were inconsistencies in Automatic's legal position that led to this settlement, and Festinger Vault is back reopened. They just don't have any Automatic stuff in there anymore. All right, the founders of Joost have acquired Post Status. So Joost de Valk and Marieke van der Raakt have completed the acquisition of Post Status from Corey and Lindsay Miller. The popular community for WordPress professionals will become a nonprofit filed in the Netherlands under the Joost and Marieke's leadership. Established way back in 2013, Post Status started as a blog and has evolved now into an essential hub for insiders in the WordPress community. It includes more than 1,700 Slack members, private forums, a weekly newsletter, and job boards focused on the industry. A new, soon-to-be reduced membership fee of $50. It's not there yet. It will be soon. And nonprofit discounts will keep operations lean and available to all. You can read my weekly agency news column on Post Status every Monday afternoon. So it's a good thing. I'm happy for Joost. I'm also happy for Corey and Lindsay. All right, a few other bits of news that are worth a look. Google is cracking down on scraping tools. So if you use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs or some of those like that, you may have noticed some weirdness and delays in updating the data. That's because Google is starting to turn off the functionality that allows them to update so often. So Google's cracking down. You got to work on that. Also, your next Chrome search might be a lot faster. Chrome is now leveraging the speculation rules API to make their search better. I actually noticed this the other day. I was on a page about a particular topic, and I went to search for something, and it auto-filled the rest of my search query based on the subject matter that I was reading about earlier. It was really kind of neat. So you might notice that is happening, and it's kind of nice. If you want to know how to remove unwanted URLs from your site that are indexed, Google's John Mueller explains in this Search Engine Journal article, or actually Search Engine, let's say it this way. Search Engine Journal reports on what John Mueller says to do if you want to index your URLs. There we go. Abby Wood of the Content Lab gives some great advice in the Admin Bar blog about writing web copy that sells. This is a really good article. If you are in content creation at all, mark that one. That's one to read. This is actually a really cool tool that's out that lets you turn WordPress posts into design. So, here you've got this, page created on your website. You can actually use Canva to turn that web design right over into a print design. And there's a cool YouTube video that talks about that. So take a look there. If you've taken a look recently at the new Cadence WP webpage and you see all the really neat animations that are there, they got a bunch of questions about this. And so on their blog, there is a step-by-step recreation of how you can make those effects happen on your Cadence site. That's kind of cool. If you think you're having a bad day, here's a story about a guy that accidentally threw away a laptop whose hard drive contained 8,000 Bitcoins. He is now trying to buy the landfill to get them back. That's really something. And by the way, anybody remember the Doom video game back from the mid-90s? You're walking around in the monsters and you got the shotgun and all that. You're trying to kill things. Well, somebody has taken that code and they ported it to a PDF file. I showed this on Office Hours last week. You can actually navigate and play the Doom game in a PDF file. It's wild. So there it is, doom.pdf. I promise it's not hijacked. Just take a look at that. It is really, really wild. All right, a very sad bit of news from the WordPress community, and that is a single page of upcoming WordCamps. For some reason, people just aren't interested in creating WordCamps very much anymore in the US. But WordCamp Asia is happening next week in Manila, the Philippines. WordCamp Madrid, March 7th and 8th in Spain. WordCamp Nepal, April 4th and 5th. WordCamp Europe, which is happening in Switzerland, June 5th through 7th. And WordCamp US back in Portland, August 26th through the 29th of this year. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the WordPress News Roundup for February 2025. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour or so. I'm dropping in once again the link bundle there in the chat if you need to download those slides. Get those links so you can follow and read more about any of the other stories that we covered. It's all there for you. I am back. There's no live stream tomorrow. I am back on Thursday for Office Hours for our members here of Solid Academy, where we go further together.